And welcome to News Hub Live.
Breaking news.
And breaking news, man. Well, okay. All right. Nah, that was pretty good, man. The intro is next level, like us. We always turn up every week, and welcome to the For the Boys podcast. The podcast is created just for the brothers to have a yarn, have a chat about everything in life. This is season 3, and we hope that you have joined us from the beginning. And if you haven't listened to us at all, thank you for tuning in. I'm Teza.
I'm sorry, second.
Yep, lads.
We're a bit sketchy, but you know.
Second show. Whether you're joining us tonight or listening through our audio podcast, thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in. I encourage to get involved with our show. The beauty about the podcast is you can join via chat, whether you're tuning in from Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. So yeah, get in the conversation and join us via chat. So comments, feedbacks, questions, all welcome.
Quick disclaimer from me and the lads: we are not professionals. I repeat, we're not professionals. We base everything we talk about off life experiences and all the the troubles in growing up in South Auckland and being proud polys that we are. So none of us are professionals, but our tonight's guest is, and man, I'm excited, and hopefully everybody is tuned in and ready for a great show. So stick around.
Yeah, 100%. So if you are joining us again from Facebook, I just had a look and it's been deleted. So we waited that long. We had to check our audio and everything. But hey, quickly, before we move to bringing on our guest, I'm just going to share our link to Facebook. I've got
it sorted. It's I just had to reset the time to 8:20.
Sweet.
So we'll just be on Facebook a bit later.
No worries. So without further ado, we've got a professional guest, and because it's season 3, we have to start off with local heroes. This gentleman has been in the, been in the background, digging the trenches for people like us, and it's real personal for me because I get to hear a role model and someone that's grown up in my community, and not let alone South Auckland, but someone from myself and Lance, where we've been brought up in. So, and if you know anything about my English, it's probably not the best. So it's probably a good time to bring in our special guest, Faánana Efeso Collins. Thank you, brother, for joining us.
Oh, shock, guys. Thanks for having me. This is really cool. I really appreciate you having me tonight.
Nah, man, it's our pleasure, man, because as we spoke about before, we're a bit starstruck, and, having someone on with us, especially of your caliber, it's hard to, match. So where do you want to start, or we can start from the beginning? Where it all started for yourself. We're what you would say. We're not too much of. We don't talk about politics too much in this, but Swanky loves the COVID talk. But we'll leave that to the end. But we'll pass it over to you. Who is Efeso Collins?
Oh, thanks, boys, and thanks for having me tonight. I'm Efeso and grew up in Otara. My parents came from Samoa. I'm the youngest of 6 children, so I was the spoiled one, and I don't know if there's any youngest listening at the moment, but we got away with heaps. And so by the time I came along, my parents had given up smacking the kids. Remember, in those days, you were allowed to smack them. You're not anymore. And so my parent, I never got, this is my claim to fame, is I never got a hiding once in my life. That was all saved for my older brothers. And they, because they were naughty, I was the good boy that went to church. So we grew up on Preston, in Otara, and it was really good there. Mum was a cleaner at Middlemore for a long time, and Dad drove taxis for South Auckland Taxis, and he was a part-time whaiwhiau as well. So we were part of the Emanuelu Samoan Christian Fellowship, which is like the Assemblies of God, and Dad was whaiwhiau with them for a few years. So yeah, that's where we grew up. Went to East Tamaki Primary, Ferguson Intermediate, and then Tangaroa College. So all of my schooling in Otara.
Wow. You went to Ferguson. Oh, so you went to East Tamaki, which was up the road. I went to Rongomai Primary, but in saying that,
Rongos.
and that's why I can't speak English properly. Nah.
Because he lives in Central now. He lives in Central now. That's why.
His tongue is proper.
You can't roll the R anymore. You can't roll the R.
Nah, bro, I'm Otara hard, bro. Otara hard, bro. Still there. But nah, thanks for that intro, Efeso. But again, we'll start at the beginning where, you know, your primary, your intermediate. How was that for schooling up? You know, being brought up in Otara, because you know back then, I'm sure it was quite different to how, you know, our kids are growing up.
Yeah, we you know, I said that being the youngest was a little bit different for me, and so I had lots of older brothers and sisters that I could look up to. But yeah, school was different. I really enjoyed school, I don't know that I was all that clever, but I enjoyed just hanging out. I really enjoy people, hanging out with people, meeting new people. I did, when I went to university, I did ethnography, and some people call it professional stalking. And ethnography is you sit and you watch. It's just it's observation-based research. And so I was happy just to sit and watch and draw theories from that. But school was good for us. You know, we had hard times. I think a lot of the people we knew growing up at the same time, we knew life was tough, but we had a really good neighborhood. We stayed across. So before I was on Preston, we stayed on Featherston. So Featherston was just closer to East Tamaki. And our neighbors were the Nikos, you know, Tawera Niko and them. They lived across the road from us. And so, and they were awesome. So, you know, in those days, they used to play on the street because our street was a crescent, Featherston Crescent. So we used to just play on the street. Everyone knew each other. And in those days, everyone, if mum and dad were running late from work, we would just go to the neighbor's house and hang out there and eat the boil up at the Nico's house. So yeah, I enjoyed it, but I felt like I was really protected growing up, especially when you've got older brothers and sisters who can look after you. So I think I had a really cool upbringing. It was, yeah, I look back and I'm really grateful.
At a young age, looking back, did you see that the way you're progressing? Did you see, I guess, your goals, or like just your future and how it all panned out for you? Did you see that you're going in that direction from a young age?
Yeah, not really, bro. I think you just, those days you just went to school, you tried your best. And I knew that for my parents, they wanted one of the kids to go to university. And Dad was hard, you know, as in wanted a lawyer in our family. And so I was the first in the family to go to university. And I hope that it made mum and dad proud. My brothers and sisters all did courses or went straight into work. So they helped mum and dad right through. And because I was the youngest, I guess it was kind of up to me, or that part of the family journey landed on me to go to university. So never became a lawyer. My father, even before he passed away, was but sad that none of his kids became lawyers, especially when everyone else's kids and his, you know, he's got brothers and sisters, and those kids are all becoming lawyers. is, but his kid isn't. But that's all right. Dad, I think by the time Dad went to heaven, he was okay with me just, you know, going to university. So I don't think it was all planned out. It didn't feel like that. And I just wanted to do the best for Mum and Dad, and only went to university because they wanted me to.
I'm pretty sure he'll be pretty proud. Sorry, Swinky, go ahead.
Now, speaking of university, I'm confident the guest doesn't remember, but I first met him at university. When young Swanky was slipping
having
up.
drink cups.
When young Swanky was slipping up, I went to see Efeso for some paper guidance. You pretty much told me uni wasn't for me. Life-changing advice.
Realist.
You helped me. You pointed me towards a few papers that I need to take for my not finished degree. But yeah, that's why I first met you. Just from university, did it click back in that day? Like, did something click in university for you to choose politics or local board politics as a career? What made it click for you? I think this is the way I want to start my career in politics.
I'm glad we met at university, and sorry if I wasn't any help. I think as you speak, I'm quickly
putting them to McDonald's.
Can you find a story where I sound really good, because they might
editor, listen.
I think university was the most challenging years of my life, and it was there that I was trying to make a number of decisions. You know, being raised in the church, I did philosophy when I first got to university, and having been raised in the church all my life, and then my first lecture in a metaphysics lecture was a woman. Professor comes out, she says God is a woman. I remember going home and telling my dad, I thought, oh, Dad, are we up for this, man? Like, all of a sudden, after all we've been taught, God is a woman. And so I think that kind of set the path for me to engage with different people, that there were lots of ideas. And it was in those times that I tried different things. I got involved with the Asosi. So I was part of the Samoan Students Association, Pacific Students for Christ. I loved my years at university. I met my wife at university, but it was all of those experiences that made me start to acknowledge and embrace the gift that I had. And I realized that I'm a bit of a talker. Some might say I'm a bit of a schmoozer. And that's when I realized that maybe it would be a gift in politics. So I don't know if but you probably met me after I was president, but I got into student politics at university, became the president of the Students Association. And then when university finished, I stayed at the university. So I finished studying, and then I worked at the university and started a program called Dream Funnel. And Dream Funnel was to reach Māori and Pacific students in low decile schools to come to university. So I think that it was being involved with people, encouraging people, and hopeful. I was hopeful that others would see education as a way to do well for themselves and their families. So that's probably where it kicked in.
Is that where the idea of Malanga production came about?
Yeah.
Efeso? I don't know, in 2001, Auckland Uni ran that Malanga production, which I was part of as well in 2002, I think. And then I remember that Malanga was a way of introducing our Māori and Pasifika people to uni.
Oh man, I'm online with all the talented people. Malanga was for the talented musos and singers, dancers. You know, the ones who would spend all their day at the gym so they could take off their shirts. And maybe that's your last cell connection. Because you know, you last cell always say it's like you never stopped.
That's
anyway, look, we've got to be serious. Similar. So that was the period at university when we were looking at different ways to engage with local communities. And so Malanga started, and a couple of years later, Dream Funnel started. So all of that thinking was at the same time. So I was there with Inelese, who was the responsible, the producer or the starter, founder of Malanga. And yeah, that's when we were all starting to think about how do we do something a bit different to reach our students. It's awesome you're part of Malanga.
That's when I started sort of noticing you, because I knew I've been watching your career progress from when you when you're at uni, and then you were like the Pacifica guy at the Auckland Uni for quite a long time, and I know that you were well respected then. And then so I've just been following your career ever since, and seeing to where you are now, and heading towards that, putting your name in the race for the mayor is pretty awesome. But yeah, that's where I know you from, was from back in those days.
Bit of a pioneer there, mate.
Yo, honest.
But were you at the gym though?
Yes.
I was just at the back. I was production, not part
Just,
of the show.
I can see the curve in your shoulders, bro.
He got a haircut just before the show too.
I think my webcam is about to. My webcam doesn't work anymore.
And just quickly, if you have any questions for our guest, by all means, jump on board and send us. We'll get to it as soon as possible. And before we move on, we like to thank our sponsor, Mace Familiar, which is also our boss, which is also the man, the gym man here. He's been amazing. He's been guiding us throughout our from day dot. So a big thank you, and also if you want to sponsor us, especially Efeso, you got the money. Just moving on to I guess life in general, and when we went to do some research about yourself, and that just seeing how there was a turn in your politics, doing politician stuff, but you were at some point of your life, you're going through hard times, and I guess the threats back then. Can you touch on that? And for myself personally, and seeing another brother go through that, and how scary it can be. Just is it possible to have a chat about the threats that you're going through?
Yeah, so you're referring, bro, to the death threats that we got last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really tough, eh? I've always been of the view that in public life, I kind of understand how people treat you. And some people are really cool. And then there are those people who, because we're in public life and people say, well, it's our taxes or our rates that pay your wages, we kind of own you. And so we got those threats, and it was a really hard time for our family, because it started, we were getting ready for church on a Sunday morning, and I got a phone call, and it was the police, and they said to us, look, we're on our way to come and see you. And I thought, me and the police haven't always had a kosher relationship. In fact, I've said things about the New Zealand police force over the years that have made people blink a little bit. But I said to them, look, what are you coming for? And they said, look, we think this is a real emergency or something we've got to address. So we're coming to your house. And when they said that to me, I thought, maybe it's best if we don't meet at home, because we live in an apartment, and I didn't want my daughters to hear whatever it was they wanted to talk to me about. So I just lived down the road from the Otahu police station. So we met there, and it was there that they identified that they'd received death threats on me and my family. And, I was at the time where they were explaining to me, my thoughts are everywhere. It's not normal. And they said in that interview, they ask you things like, who do you think would want to bring harm on your family? I can think of anybody. But I think that the toughest bit was, in politics, often the politician gets threatened. And I'm not saying that that's acceptable. It's just what we know. But this was the first time where a whole family had been they had threatened against my whole family, and they said that it was serious enough that they were going to follow up. So that day they sent the bomb squad, and those the dog sniffers, the sniffer dogs, sorry, and they went through my office. The dog sniffers, they went through my office, and I got 2 offices in town, an office in Mannix or at Manuko, and then they came to our house that night. And I think what was really upsetting was my girls were home at the time that they turned up, and it was hard because we tried to get them out of the house before the police arrived, but it just didn't work out because they got here late at night. And my daughters being around while the police are around was quite a frightening experience for them. And I think the toughest bit, though, for me was I felt quite an overwhelming sense of guilt that perhaps I brought on harm to my family, thinking that they were now unsafe because of things that I had done in my life in politics. So it was really tough. And to be honest, it triggered. When I was at university, as I was coming to the end of my time at university, I went through quite a deep depression. And those are the kinds of things that you try and monitor and watch, because different things will trigger us. And the truth of that for last year was it triggered a whole range of things where because I thought that I brought harm on the family, I felt like a failure as a father. I felt like I had let down my family because it's my job. I'm their dad. I'm Fia's husband, and feel like it's your job to protect. That's how we're raised. As Samoans, it's the man's job to protect the family. And I had this overwhelming sense of guilt, a sense of failure. And so it started to trigger some of my sad, dark spots in my life. And it was hard to get through it. But, the boys got around me quick. I have a code that I text to people. And when I'm feeling a bit down and I'm realizing it, then, obviously my wife picks it up. But it's a big step for me to text the boys and just send the code. And, the boys were over real fast. And I don't know if they were over to see me or they were just over because they were angry and they wanted to find the people that left us. Especially my Mangele family, they were here in a hurry. And I was going, boys, calm down. So that's what I went through, bro. And it was good that my wife is a very calming figure in my life. And I'm the kind of person that shuts down. And when I stop talking, when I stop engaging, that's a sign that maybe things aren't the best. And I know your shows, you talk a lot about or touch on mental health a lot. And I think slowly I'm starting to be able to talk about it a bit more because it felt like such a dark period in my life.
Oh, that's awesome, Barry. That is awesome. It's good to hear. It's good to hear that from the likes of you. That you do close up. You do feel the same things that everybody else feels when they go through times that are hard or difficult or new. In that instance, not everybody gets a bomb squad or for a whole lot of cops come to their house. So it's going to be new. It's going to be freaky as. It's. I'm not saying it's good that it happened to you, not us, but. What I'm trying to say is that it could happen to anybody, and for somebody who's so educated as yourself, you went through the same emotions that my next door neighbor could have went through if he had the same instances. So it's good to know that you're just as human as everybody else, and we all go through the same things.
And it's good to hear that you have the circle, circle around you, like you spoke on your family, your boys.
That code thing is cool, eh?
Yeah. Because we do need that circle around us. Just have a question here from our chat. From the sister Bear. Just saying, Collins, love that you're running for mayor. Congratulations. With the threats over your head, what drives you to continue to do what you do? Is it worth it? She continues on, social media has given everyone the ability to be very vocal. Do you have a process or morning routine that helps you through your days?
Cool. Thanks, Spear. I think we probably all have experiences that we can share. I think it was that experience that really honed our thinking. And Fia's my wife. We sat down, and I know that at that time, the initial period, I wanted to stop. I was ready to walk and say, no, I'm not going to allow this to affect my family. I don't mind people taking me on, you know what I mean? That's normal if people want to challenge me, and I'm used to that, but I wasn't prepared for the safety of my family to be compromised. So I took a number of weeks off work, and we just took time to kind of reassess, to pause, and I tried really hard to talk. Really difficult for me to express how I was feeling at the time. And one of the things that I do, when years ago I was a youth worker. And for youth workers, I know there's probably, I don't know if you guys are youth workers or social workers, but one of the things that youth workers get is supervision. And supervision is like a form of counseling, or where you get to talk to someone about your caseload, how things are going. And even though I left youth work more than 20 years ago, I still have a supervisor. And so I was getting supervision at the time, and my supervisor was really calm and helped me get through stuff. And the boys came around, and it was there that we decided, no, if we're going to give ourselves to this work, then it's important that we understand that as a city, we've got some issues we need to deal with, that we've got to be honest with ourselves, that if you're prepared to threaten the life of my children, then it means that we've got some really deep issues that we need to confront. And I don't know if you can see, but the side, this is my eldest daughter, and her name is Gabriela, and she was the one that was asking lots of questions about why people would be so mean to me. She said to me, Dad, why are those people so angry with you? What have you done? And she was the one as well that prayed for them. When we do our evening, you know, like how we were raised, every night we do our evening devotions. We don't do them at 6. We do them like later, just before bedtime. But even in her prayers, she started to pray that the Lord would look after us, and that the angry people, that God would look after the angry people as well. And I think it shows perhaps the heart with which we come to the world. I want my girls to know that, yeah, people are going to be mean in life, but we've got to show forgiveness and compassion too, even though, hey, you want to overcome these things by lavishing your love. So it was there that we made the final decision. We're going to go for the mayoralty, and that's why we announced some months later, even though at the immediate time I wanted to walk away from it. So I hope that answers your question, Bea. But you know, I wonder, you know, there's lots of people with different ways to manage their stuff.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to see you putting your hand up, Efeso, because I don't think I've ever seen anyone more prevalent on the TV these days whose skin color is brown.
Yes,
and even throughout the COVID pandemic over the last couple of years, seeing you on TV and representing the Pacifica voices on our behalf, we never had that before. I can't remember anyone who's really advocated for that, and to see that is really cool. And also just for our Māori and Pacifica kids growing up in Otara, where we used to grow up, and seeing a brown face on TV talking about and standing up for them as well, it was really cool, man. So I really would like to say thank you, because I think we need more people like yourself on TV and and in the mainstream media. And so yeah, see how you go with the run for the mayor. Just on that though, I got a question. Going through for the mayor, how does it feel being one of the first Pacifica people to put their hand up for being a mayor of Auckland, super city?
Yeah. So really humbling. I'm really humbled that we have the opportunity to do this. I'm humbled with the support. I don't know if my 2 followers on Facebook are on today, but I shared a story on Facebook, I think about a year ago, where I was getting off the bus in Otara. I had a meeting at MIT, and I caught the bus to Otara. And as I was getting off the bus, a Samoan driver reached out to me and put his hand on me. He asked me, "Oh, you're Collins?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." And then he said, and I just, you know, I remember, and he put his hand on my head, and I thought, I was glad that there was no one on the bus, because I just started crying. I thought, reminded me of my father. My father would often do things like that. And I think that story perhaps gives, is the kind of the premise of what we feel as a family, in that we know that there's huge expectation, especially from our community, that one of their sons, one of the sons, migrant Samoan sons of the Pacific, is standing for the highest elected office in the city, comes with a level of there's a blessing about it, but we also accept that there's a real responsibility that it comes with too. And so, yeah, I'm really humbled. It's nice. Even when we're driving, we were out on Henderson the other day and visiting my wife's family, and this Tongan family stopped us, or stopped next to the lights, and they just started talking. They're going, "Hey, are you that guy?" And I said, yeah. And they said, "Oh, all the best." And I thought, it's cool, because I hope that it gives our community a sense of he's one of us. And I know not everyone agrees with the things I say, but that's cool. That then all what we see is that person is one of us and is hoping to lift all of us up. And we all stand on the shoulders of our parents. When this is not something that's about me. This is about all of us. That if we move together to break these ceilings, to allow ourselves to come into opportunities where we might not have been before, forge the way forward, then I hope that my daughters will see in me a hero, that they'll look at their dad and I think, yeah, Dad tried hard for us. And I don't want to preach about it, but I think we've got a particular responsibility as men, especially us. I don't know if you're all Samoan, but especially us island men, in our generation. I'm probably older than you guys. I had children much later in my life, but the point is, we have a responsibility to the next generation. I know it's tough on our boys. I know you guys have been dealing with people who tune into your show all the time. I know sometimes it's hard for us, how we manage the stress, the anxiety, the feelings of inferiority, or whether I'm good enough. And so I think shows like this are really important. It's important that we're honest. And that's why I wanted to. I was humbled that you asked me. I thought, oh, cool, yay! Maybe I'm cool now that you've asked me onto. That's why I think it's a dynamic that we've got to deal with. We're brothers in this, and as brothers, got to look out for each other. We've got to ask ourselves, how are you treating your partner? How are you treating your wife? What kind of dad are you? What kind of husband or partner are you? And I think these are the questions that are only going to support us and help us in this journey, because I was the youngest, but what I don't remember seeing it in my dad, but apparently Dad used to hit Mum. And I know that affected my brothers. And I didn't see it, but my brothers saw it, and I think they probably had a bit of anger towards Dad. And so I just want people to know that these are stories that might relate to them. And my brothers were angry men as well, perhaps because of what had been modeled. And I'm not saying we've all forgiven our dad. And in fact, Dad came to the Lord and he changed. The minute he became a faithful, he stopped drinking, he stopped all of that domestic violence stuff. It was his faith that really turned him around. But it took something really significant for Dad's life to turn around. And I think as we talk more on these kinds of platforms, as people meet you and realize you're human too, then that might be that one significant friend they have where they can say, yeah, okay, I've got someone who's going to stand with me through all these challenging times.
Amen.
Oh, that's it.
The gem.
And that's the, I guess, the biggest part of us sharing this platform. We're not all about the numbers, but as long as we can reach out to one of our brothers and also our sisters going through a tough time, and we've spoken so many times about not being perfect, but just getting through, pushing yourself to become a better person for yourself, not for others. It makes a big difference. You might not see it see it at the end, but we've spoken to so many guests, and within the boys here, we always share some of our darkest secrets, and we just hope that not only do you take on board from what we say, from our biggest role model, Faisal. He's sharing some of his stuff. Just going back on how you were feeling at the time where you were depressed. As us islanders, we don't know what depression is. And some of us, take, they've moved on and taken their lives. So how did you know that you were going through those darkest times? How did you define who you were, and how did you get out of, or maybe you're not out of it, maybe you're still at times, the triggers do come back up, but do you how did you find that for yourself?
I think it was a number of things, bro. One of the things we identified in the counseling, when I was getting counseling and supervision at the same time, was I had begun to believe from an incident at high school that I was dumb. And we had this thing at school where all the year 13s or the 7th formers, we had a small 7th form when I was in Form 7, only about 15 of us. And we went around the room. Our teacher said, "Oh, what do you want to do?" And I just said, "This is what my dad wants me to do." So I said, "Oh, I want to be a lawyer." And I remember my teacher laughed and she said, "Oh, you'll be lucky. You'll be lucky if you become a lawyer, Efeso." And we just laughed off, all the boys in the room just cracked up like, "Oh, shame face," but I didn't realize how deeply that had affected me. Years later, while I was a youth worker, that it was the supervision where the person in supervision helped me to understand that I had believed from that incident that I was dumb, that I wasn't good enough. And here I was at university. I'd been through university, but even then, I didn't even think that made me clever. I just thought that I wasn't dumb. And as a result of thinking that, I started to believe that my voice didn't matter, that I was insignificant. And I think it was that drove me. I'm a real believer, and this is my generic thought, so generalized thought, and you can all tell me that I'm wrong, but I got into youth work, and the reason I threw myself at youth work was maybe I had thought, if Efeso's not good enough for someone to believe in, then I'm going to use every moment of my life to believe in somebody else. And so I gave my life to youth work, to mentoring young people, to starting youth programs at church. So all of that was what I threw myself at, because I wanted others to feel special. But deep down, I never felt special. But you just manage, you just handle it. I think the way I did it was I just closed up and I just think, well, it's there, it exists, but I try my best to avoid it. And the truth is, I think they reported on this as well, and some of the stories that have been shared on me is I started to have, and I know that you probably have counseling numbers and stuff available, but I started to have really deeply suicidal thoughts, and driven by I'm not good enough, that there's nothing about me that matters. And maybe in my youth work, that's what I tried to do, is I wanted people to know that I can see you, I can hear you, I know that you matter, that you're special. And yeah, I think that's where my life is at today. And I think when you believe that, it becomes part of your default setting. And so when I'm feeling a bit down, that's what I go to. The default setting is you're not good enough anyway, you don't matter. And I've ended up in politics. Bro, when you've been talking about my interviews on TV, I used to think, why are they ringing me? And every time someone would ring me and say, can you come on and do breakfast, or can you go on and do The Nation? I put the phone down and think, I've got nothing to say. And had I not talked to the boys or talked to my wife, they're the ones who say, you say it's okay what you have to say. It's all right. You've got to go with your gut, go with what you believe. And so even getting to that point is a challenge too. And so I know people are still going through stuff today. I'm hopeful they look in at at our lives and they think, yeah, we're just doing the best with what we have, trying our best to believe, but finding the support. Now, you guys look like you're all friends, but I'm guessing, we all take the have a good mock with one another. But if we don't have each other, if we don't have boys in our lives, then it just makes the road a bit more lonely, and we want it to be as warm and as exciting as possible.
That's awesome, man. So it's coming out with some gems there, especially that imposter syndrome is very real in our Pacifica people, and sometimes we joke amongst each other and put each other down, but that's because that's the imposter syndrome coming out, and you want to feel safer around. You're just testing them to see whether they're on your level
they
or
actually care.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. And so just on that diversity as well, Efeso, I know that in your career, in your professional career, there's not that many islanders that would have taken the path that you've taken. Can you share a little bit about what that has been like for your journey around starting from uni, but then also being the brown face that's at these corporate meetings that turns up and is not the security guard or is not the cleaner or not the coffee maker, right? Because, when I was growing up in my career, that's what we get sort of stereotyped for. So what was it like in your career building that up?
Yeah, I think I got used to being lonely. And you kind of find ways to manage it that, I'm a bit different and I just hope that people accept it. But you find good friends around you. The best manager that I had was at university, and it was this older Palangi woman. And she was amazing. She was probably like a mum to me. And she believed in me, and she said, Efeso, we're going to support you. When we started Dream Funnel, she would come along, and maybe it was because she had a church background as well, and she liked young people. She had kids that were my age. And so I think maybe she just thought, it's just another one of my teenage sons who's lost his way. But she managed me really well. And I think that's what we need to find is, whilst it might be a lonely road, it's important that we work out who our allies are, who's going to be there through thick and thin. And I get to that. You look at political representation around New Zealand. Slowly, we're doing better. We're getting more diversity, but that takes time. And I think I found comfort in just being me. I think we've got to be safe in ourselves. I often say things that people feel a little bit challenged by, or how they say, "Oh, you name the white elephant in the room," and I believe that's my gift, is that unless we identify what the challenge is, we all tippy-toe around it. Everyone says, it's kind of that, but it's not. And when we identify it, explain it to people, then we're able to have discussions that really matter. So yeah, I've accepted that sometimes I cause a bit of trouble and I upset the flow of things or rock the boat and all that. But when I was at university, and this is my one fear intelligent comment, was I studied a bit of philosophy. And in philosophy, there's this German, Friedrich Nietzsche. And Nietzsche talks a lot about chaos. And he says that when there's chaos, there's some people that can manage it, and then there are others who just run free from chaos. I welcome chaos. I like it because you see people at their most challenged and at their best. You look at the COVID situation. We're going into lockdown for the first time. That's chaotic, and that was the time where the media really wanted me to come in front for our people. And that's why it was, I don't say it was easy, but it was kind of natural for me, because I feel those situations are normal because we're balancing acts all the time. And so you find good friends, and if it's just you, then just you got to reach out to the boys, because if you've got no one in the same kind of area, you got to reach out to people to walk with you.
See, I think that's our superpower. So every time because I work in IT, and I think that us being Māori and Pacifica and speaking the truth and calling out the BS is actually what Islanders bring to the table, and especially in the corporate world, it's welcomed, and I think that's where people like yourself get well respected, because you speak the truth, and that's not everyone wants to hear it. but they, like, some people actually need to hear it to be able to grow and stuff like that. That's awesome, man.
You touched on your youth work. I just have a question here from the chat. Malo Fest, you've mentored and inspired countless lives, his included. Who are your greatest inspirations, and what are some gems or lessons that they have taught you, which you have been able to use in life?
Nice, friends.
Yeah, that's a cool question. Hey, Brett, I'm thinking that's Brandon from out west. I don't know why he moved out west. He grew up in Otara.
Like this,
Mr. Jackson.
Yeah, that's the one.
He's confused.
The same thing. My wife is from Ranui, so we lived out west, and then I got elected out here, and I said, "Oh, hun, we got to go back to South Auckland."
That's it.
This is going to be quoted on. I think, and thanks, Brandon, for the question. I reckon I've already talked about my Palangi manager who was at university. We became so close that once we finished working way back, and we were apart for 15 years, I led her funeral because we were so close that in the end, her family, her kids asked me to lead her funeral when she died. So I think that shows how special relationships can become. I think someone who, who sticks out for me. Yeah, you got me thinking. So I don't know. Do I have to name them? I can just say who kind of what they were, because if I name them,
man.
Yeah. Actually, I'll just name one person that's been really instrumental in my life is a Niuean man named Dr. Robert Siakimotu, lives in Mangili. Oh, now everyone knows where he lives. Anyway, but Robert has always been there for our family. Niuean man as well, married to a beautiful Fijian woman. And he has always kind of, whenever, he used to come to church a lot. He used to speak at our church a lot, but he's always shown an interest in our lives. And I think that's probably what's drawn me to Robert, is that he's a family man. He preaches. So we've got a similarity in that sense, in that we do a lot of public speaking. But he always finds time in his busy schedule to make time for me. And I think that's someone that has been really instrumental in my life. So I hope that answers your question, Brands, and hopefully you'll come back out south one day with your kids. Thanks.
Touching on your running for mayor, Efeso, how does it feel to be both endorsed by Labour and recently the Green Party?
Yeah, I'm really honored, really excited as well. And I think what's really helpful is the endorsement means that there's a little bit of space for me to keep my independence. And for me, that's really important. And in politics, especially local government politics, people want you not to be a party person. They want you to be your own person. And if you look at some of the things I voted on and how I've spoken out on different issues, that independence has been important for me, because sometimes the party wants you to go in one direction, but it's been my belief that we should go in a slightly different direction. So the endorsement is really welcome, because I've got their support, but we've got an agreement on when we might be disagreed on how we get there, or whether we're going far enough. Then we'll talk about it so that we can either push the boundaries a bit, or that we won't, it won't look like we're having a big punch up with each other. But yeah, and I'm really glad, because I've been in the Labour Party for a long time, and it means a lot to me that the Labour Party are supporting me, and this is our opportunity. This is one particular point in history where we might be able to put forward a person genuinely from South Auckland, genuinely Pasifika, Samoan. And I think those things are special. This could be quite historic for the city. And I'm not saying that you should vote for me because I'm Samoan. I think that there's...
should.
Hey. Oh, okay. Yeah.
You should.
Yeah. And so that's why those endorsements, but also a chance to get out into the community too, because if you if you look at the voting data, my area, the area of Manukau, it has the lowest voter turnout of all the areas in Auckland. And it's the data essentially says this: if you are brown, don't own a house, and on a low income, then you tend not to vote. And it's the opposite end for the other. You tend to vote when you're in stable housing, you're European, and you're older. And that's not the kind of city we want. Hey, all of us have children. We want to be able to engage in the city and build the city for us. Our parents have cleaned the city. Our parents worked factory floors to build the city. And I think we owe it to them and to their hard work and hard ethics around working to keep the journey going. And bro, I didn't realize you're in IT, but even that, I think, wow, that's not like a normal path that we go to. It was the lawyer doctor thing, and good on the kids that became lawyers and doctors, but that's not all of us. And so I'm hoping that whether it's in politics, whether it's in IT, owning a business, that all of those, being a creative, all of those different areas we're going to explore and we're going to excel in. And that's why, those endorsements mean a lot to me, and it gives us a chance to really speak up for the things that matter for our communities.
Yeah, awesome. So how do we support you, Fess? So what is the timeline? What is the process that you now have to go through, and what is how can everybody that's listening or watching support you in your journey?
Get you the key.
The best way.
How can we give you the key?
The best way to support. The keys to the city. They call it. The best way to support is to register to vote. And so we're going to be going out. We're going to be knocking on your door. You'll see us. We'll have a whole team of people knocking on your door saying, "Are you registered to vote?" And that's the key issue that we have, is that our families are really transient. A lot of our families don't live in the same place for a long time. And because our election is a postal election, so we send your voting papers to your house. So if it was the house you lived in 2 years ago, but you haven't changed or updated your registration, then that's going to be a challenge because it'll go to your old address. So once we get everyone's registration updated, it means that your voting paper will get to you at your house, and then it doesn't take too long to vote. So that's the key thing. So when we're out door knocking, that's all we're talking to people about. They might meet me and I'll remind them, I'm standing for the mayoralty. But in the first place, we're asking them if they're registered to vote, and that's the biggest thing. And then people are joining the campaign as well. Like there are some people saying, "Oh, look, I'll do my street." So I might live. Mum was on Hamel, and we were on Preston, so we will just go up and down Preston, or up and down Hamel, because those are the people we know, and it's okay to reach out to them. So we just door knock, remind everyone, make sure you're registered, make sure you think about voting for Efeso, and that's how we're going to do it. The election is on the 8th of October, so it's a few months away, but we know that it's important that I get out to meet as many people as possible, given that our voter turnout last time was 36%, so really low. And that's across Auckland. It was about 25% for Pacific people. So which means only 1 in 4 people are voting. So 3 in 4 of our families aren't voting, and we've got to get them out to vote.
And there's something like 1.2 or 1.3 million people that just live in South Auckland, right? So I mean, that's a huge base that you can plug into.
What's your belief? What's your belief? Why those voting numbers are so low? Like, is it because people don't understand what they're voting for, or is it they don't understand how to do it, or is it just laziness?
Yeah.
What do you believe
I think
could be the issue?
It's all of those things. And, we've talked about transients, and sometimes people don't know when you're voting for local government, what it actually means. And so when you go to the library, to where I was thinking of the art gallery, when you're going to the zoo, when you go to your swimming pools, your local swimming pools, all of those community facilities, those of us in Otara, when we go to Te Puke Otara, those are facilities that are run by council. So sometimes we don't realize that those are the things that you're voting about. When and probably not the best example, but one that's easy. When you turn on the tap and you expect water to come out, that's what council does. When you flush the toilet, you kind of hope that that water goes somewhere, because if it just keeps gathering in your house, it's going to smell. So you want that wastewater to go somewhere. All of those things are what council does. The streets that we've got, how well kept they are, the parks that are outside, how well they're maintained. That's what council does. And so when people understand, so that's what I'm voting for, I can have a say in how I want my community to be organized, to be developed, then they start to understand. The other problem I think we have is it's a postal ballot. I think I'm done with postal ballots. I think they're a waste of time. If you look at the research around the world, everyone's saying this is such a waste of time because people don't vote. When you have, the normal elections, when you're voting National Labour Act, the Greens, you get around 80, I think we had 88% turnout. So you compare that 88% to 35% in Auckland, it just goes to show that there's a massive imbalance. And so rather than have a postal ballot, I think it's good. People just turn up. You go to your local school, your library, say, "Hi, my name's Efeso." They check where you are, and you just vote then. And so I think that's the way we should be doing it. So lots of those issues, and understanding that our vote counts for something, and that we can make a difference with that vote.
And just touching on how you're talking about. Muffy, how you're talking about how people, why they're not voting. And at some point when I started voting, like I wasn't paying attention to everything that was on TV or like label who's going to be the best for us at the time. And I think sometimes I didn't even vote. So I was part of the, that percentage that didn't vote. But it was only because I didn't care. But, I'm probably, I don't know how many percentage of us then didn't care, but knowing that in the future, like from what you were saying, it makes a huge difference to how, for now, I'm thinking about my kids, or, I'm not as old, but, it's now the future that we have to look out for. And from what you were saying, Efeso, it's, we need to get out there and support the likes of yourself and push our people, and seeing another poly brother who talks like me, looks like me, and it's easy to, you don't have to think about it. It's, he's there for us as poly Māori people. So I thank you for, giving us this time. I know you've got all these other media outlets that you probably would have taken instead of us, because as soon as we started at 8 o'clock, that didn't work out for us. But I think Swanky's got some questions for us, and then we'll go into quick fire questions, and you can go back to your family. I'm sure they're just waiting for you to finish this and get rid of us, eh?
I'll just have a few video questions that was sent through, so I'll just play them.
Hello, Falawa. My name is Barbara Lisa, and I am the head girl of Manidewa High School for 2022. I hail from the villages of Aimoso and Apia Nupolu, Samoa. Our question for Mr. Collins is, what advice would you give to your younger self? Thank you. Bubbles.
Oh, cool. That's a good question, eh? Yeah, probably just accept yourself, eh? Be friendlier to Efeso. Don't be so hard on him, and be you. Be okay about being you. Because I look back at that young person. I think, if only I might have tried. I believed in myself. May have gone on in sport. I remember when I used to, because I wasn't rugby like my brothers. And so I did, because my parents, they used to mock me and say, and so I would come in, and I ended up captaining the softball team. And I did more track and field, like I did shot put and javelin. And, Dad was thinking, what kind of sports are these? But I quite liked the single ones. So, so I got a bit, my brothers were all cool because they played rugby in league and I was doing shot put and I went by myself, even though it was regionals and I did really well, but my parents didn't come. But that's all right. I've forgiven them for not coming to regionals, even though I just want to say, hey, baby.
It's all good. We'll just mention it, but it's all good. We moved on.
I've forgiven you 45 years later.
Just have one more video question to play.
Talofa lava, my name is Itangia Tungi Fa'avaonga, and I am the head girl of Otahuhu College. I am full Samoan, and I come from the villages of Sava'i and Dathinga. My question for Mr. Collins is, what is your advice to a male politician who is struggling with mental health? Most of the time, we don't see that politicians go through a lot of stress and also struggle from mental health issues because of hatred from communities and also worldwide. So what is your advice you'd like to give a male politician that is struggling from mental health issues? Thank you.
That's a cool question.
Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome, eh? I don't think it's just for politicians. I just think it's for anyone, who's going through mental health issues. But I don't want to take from the question. Yeah, to reach out if you can, to get a set of boys or girls or friends that love you, to allow my wife to speak into my life and to talk to me and to calmly encourage me. Can I just share one quick story? I think one of the funniest odd is I don't know if you've done those 5 love languages. Have you read that book? And there's different love languages that make us responsive. And one of my love languages, I've learned that one of my love languages is touch. Hey, and we'll keep this all above board, but touch is one of my love languages.
The safe word might come out.
Yeah, I know you went to La Salle and it's a bit but and I'll pray for you at the end of this. But touch is one of my love languages. And when I was at university, coming towards the end of university, because I don't know if I'm, people who haven't met me, I'm 6'4", so I'm quite tall, so I'm quite a big person. And when I was going through a lot of stuff, I had a friend who was just a bit short. I think he was 6'3". And he knew my love language was touch. And I remember he knew I was feeling down one day, and we went to Mission Bay, and he held my hand when we were at Mission Bay. Honestly, I said, sorry. But he knew that was, for me, it was one of the most inviting, safe spaces for me to hold his hand. And so we sat there at Mission Bay holding hands. The whole time I'm thinking, people are looking at us, bro. But it was really liberating for me. And I think those acts of reaching out to someone, and we hold hands differently. Some people text, some people talk on the phone, some people go and sweat it out at the gym. There's different ways to do it. But as brothers, we need to work out the way in which you're all going to feel the most loved. And whether that's holding your hand or going to the gym and just, I don't know if you're grunters, but if you just need to grunt it out when you're pumping your weights, see, I knew. I just do the rowing machine. I don't have to look all pumped up like these IT boys anymore. I don't have to push my chest out and wear those tight t-shirts, even though I'm too excited to walk in with a small t-shirt.
Sorry guys, my camera's broken. I think
he's just adjusting his t-shirt because I know he's wearing a small. When we work out how someone wants to interact with us in their love language, then we're going to be okay. So I think it's touch, it's words of affirmation, it's time. Those are 3 of them, but there's 2 other ones. And that's how we can express it. Sometimes people just want to sit with you. If they just sat with me, we don't have to talk. I just know that they're there. Sometimes it's holding my hand, sometimes at the gym. All of those ways are ways in which we can support the brothers, the sisters, the family. And I hope that's been useful, because that's why when my wife, sorry, last story. When I got
we got time, man. We got time.
When I got inaugurated at council, the one photo they showed was just before I gave my first speech at council. There's a photo of my wife holding my face. And Sophia's got me, and she's holding me like this, and the whole time she's holding me and touching me, because she knows that's my connection language. And she keeps saying to me, I love you, go and do this. And the photographer from the Herald picked up that photo, but the whole time she was holding my cheeks. And so for me, that's my way to help me get through the hurdle at the time. So I don't know. I hope it's useful to those watching tonight, because those love languages are so important. Write a letter, write a text. I don't know. You know what I'm getting at, boys?
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's I read about something just in regards to your love language or something along those lines, and I think I spoke with my wife about that, and it was hard to even like pick out, because at the same time you don't want to be that masculinity of yourself. You don't want to be like, oh, that's not me, you try and put up that wall straight away. But in reality, if you like yourself, you took it with both arms open and you accepted it, you turned out to be, you sometimes taking that step forward, you become a better person. So sharing that with us, and especially we always say this every show, is that we see people on TV and think they're not going through what we're going through, right? But in reality, it's just we're all on a level playing field. We're all going through that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So and thank you again. We're probably going to thank you a million times even from now, and I think from last week's episode we're going to be saying congratulations, because and that's an inside joke, but you have to watch last week's performance. That I came with all the.
Get me separated, Efeso. Try to lose my wife.
Divorce.
So,
long story short, I say congratulations. You had a kid, but the boss man's
Not due till next month.
the kid's not here yet.
For a few weeks.
So actually,
the kid's not here yet, but apparently there's another one that's here.
and I got a visit from the boss man and the boss lady earlier this week. Put me in line, so I'm not going to make that mistake again.
Correct yourself, boy.
Verbal warning.
So we're just going to have a few quick fire questions. The first one will be coffee or water, and why?
Coffee.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh.
Nice. Sports teams. Rugby. Are you NRL or rugby union? Rugby union, NRL. Both. Or okay, teams.
Oh, both. Oh, I'm doing union.
Union.
Oh, do you want to know my team? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Chiefs and the.
Just can we turn this off already? This is going down.
Thank you. That's it for tonight.
No, remember the South Auckland kids were always taken by the Chiefs.
That's true.
That's my excuse. But now I'm all about the Blues. I didn't bring my Blues flag. Sorry.
Oh, you did have one thing.
It's in the other room.
It's in the rubber shade. It's in the toilet.
With the Warriors flag.
Oh, league. Which league team?
Oh, Rabbits.
Rabbits. Oh, okay. The Rabbitohs. Which leads us to a time where don't worry about those Rabbitohs fans and Chiefs fans. Towards the end of the show, we like to I guess share a tip or advice or something that you've taken on board that's helped you with your journey or life. So we'll start off with Swanky, who usually gives us the gems. Sorry,
Can I just before we just do the round? Could I just ask Efeso one more question? Hey, Efeso, I know your wife does the diversity thing, and she's got a company or a consulting firm that does or educates about diversity. It would be great to have you guys both on in the coming months to talk about that, because I think that plays a big part in the imposter syndrome and how we get treated in the corporate workplace. It stops us, our Māori and Pasifika people, from going down that track a lot more, like the IT, the track, the law track, the doctor's track. And I think it'll be great to have you and Fia talk about that stuff later on.
Yeah, choice, bro. We did this interview together a couple of days ago, and at the end of the interview, the guy goes to me, "Oh, actually, your wife was way more interesting." I was saying, "Bro, I'm standing here." Yeah, he goes, "Oh, your wife, he's so methodical. She knew exactly what to say." And the whole time I was saying, "Fia, can you look worse than me? Because it's my face that's on the." Yeah, no, sorry. Point is, she loves you, bro, and she's more than happy. Have you done? Oh, sorry. This is a conversation we pick up later.
Yeah, we can take it offline. Yeah, sweet. Sorry,
Yeah,
Swanky.
sweet,
Over to you.
Cool, bro. Sorry.
No, you guys take over. It's your show.
It's
all about. It's all about you.
guys
It's all about you. For tonight, I just want to say thank you again, Whionga Faánana, for tonight's show. Thank you for taking the time out of your evening, join our little talanoa, and also extend thank you to the Hey Girls that offered their questions. Itangia from Otahu College, and also Barbara from Manirewa. But I think my advice tonight, our guest touched on it, is reach out and keep checking into your family, loved ones, your circle, even beyond your circle, just keeping the conversation going, checking in how they're doing, on their well-being, really ask them with compassion and keep checking in, just keep the conversation going. Eventually, hopefully, they'll open up, and sometimes someone just needs someone to ask them that question. Sometimes there's ways of asking the question. It could be just like, "Oh, let's go out for a feed. Let's go out for coffee." There's ways of keeping the conversation going, and I hopefully whoever is tuning in tonight can reach out and check in on their family and loved ones, and just keep the conversation going. That's it for me, boys. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, next source. Just a little thing for me. Actually, not something that I'd like to leave, but something I'd like to take away from tonight's conversation or talanoa of Brother Fiso. Is the idea of that, that text, that reaching out text that you had, the code. I'd encourage everybody who listened tonight and heard how Efeso used it in his time of need. That I encourage everybody to have that code. However way you set it up, whatever number it is, or I encourage you guys to have that code with your boys, with your close ones. That's going to be your lifesaver. That's going to be your lifeline in that darkest time, or the hardest times. So I encourage everybody to take advantage of ideas like that, because I never heard of that before, and tonight it's perfect idea. It's simple and quick, Also, again, thank you to Fiso for jumping on tonight. I actually took the time out to message you on the recommendation from Jimmy Paul from Rep FM. Actually, we're quite close. So Jimmy put me on to you. He said, get him on. I've been behind that guy, backing him, and since 2021, I knew that guy's going to be the mayor. So, all I did was reach out. You were kind enough to accept. So, thank you again, Fiso, for jumping on the show and allowing us an hour and a bit of your time away from your family. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fis. Just like what the other boy said, just wanted to say thank you for your time, because I know you're a busy man, and I really enjoyed tonight's chat. Just following on from what Mike said, I think it's really good that you have a band of brothers that you can rely on. which is the same for us on this chat as well, on this forum as well. That, you know, if you've got a band of brothers and, you know, using the code word, which is real cool, and that everyone knows that they need to surround you ASAP. But yeah, like to see another South Aucklander, another Poly boy up there, and you know, also we grew up down the road from each other, went to the same schools. It's really, really, really cool that, and I think I spoke about this last time, was we should have just celebrate just our Māori and Pacifica who are great at sports or are on TV. I think there's different pathways that our Māori and Pacifica people can take, and your journey is exactly one of them. And if we believe we can achieve, which is really cool, and you know, to see it in real life happening for our next generation, that's massive. So for me, thank you very much. My advice is, get behind our guy here, Efeso Collins, for 2022, and make sure you learn how to vote. Make sure you reach out and see how you can support him with his campaign. And also, just one more thing before I close off. I just wanted to say congratulations to my son, Cole. So Cole got informed that he was head boy for St. Joseph's Primary School.
Let's go.
In Onehunga. So yeah, we were meant to move to Melbourne in June, but that's no longer happening. We want to give our little son the best opportunity for him to reach his goals that he set himself. And I think that's the learning for me that I wanted to share was my son set a goal of him wanting to be a head boy 3 years ago, actually, and we had this conversation about it. And now he's reached that goal. It's just amazing. So yeah, congratulations to my son.
Congratulations,
well done,
man.
Well done.
Shout out to Cole, and especially the parents. You know, it's you know, back in the day where you know, I've said this a lot of times. You know, my parents are always there behind me, but you know, that the type of parents where then you knew they loved them, or they loved us, but they were at the same time really hard. You know, when we were doing something right, you didn't know you were doing it right, but you just knew from just I guess a little smile, or you know, or a little nod that you were doing something right. So you know, shout out to the boss man for acknowledging that. And I think it's a change. We need the change. We need to all grow together. You know, times have changed. So back to something I've taken away. Usually I give out the great advices to all these people out there, and they don't take it on board. But something I've taken away from this episode, and I think it did affect me personally, which was you know, be nicer to yourself. Fisters, you know, it really resonated with me because I think from a younger age I thought I could be this person, or what, be that All Black, or be this, especially in All Black, or being, you know, just making teams. I thought I wasn't good enough because every time I tried, it didn't happen. But I know now that this was my calling, you know, being a dad. So and
that's it.
You know, being a dad, and the my wife being the breadwinner. So I'm just stay at home dad now, jokes. But you know, it's a big change, and I've from this podcast. This is our third season. I've actually taken it from here, and you know, spoken with my family, and I think I've seen the changes within my family as well. So, thank you so much, Fessel, for jumping on, and especially your kids, and Fia for letting you have the time with us. So we appreciate you and the family, and we're supporting you 100 all the way, even though we live over the shore.
You're still in Auckland, mate.
No, but we'll pass that over to you, Fessel.
Oh, What, just like a final word?
Yes, you get the final word.
Yeah, and we're gonna add a motivational background music at the end
Play
of
my
this.
violin after this.
Oh, no, cool. Like the altar calls that we used to do when I was at Brandon's. I just wanted to say thank you, boys. I really enjoyed this. I know that I'm the one that's answering the questions, but I think I get a real sense from you. You know, we haven't met proper and hung out much, but I get a sense that there's a real passion in your hearts to reach people. And man, I think if we could just do that, that would be enough. And I feel like, you know, I've my life's okay. If I'm not worried about where I go, all I'm worried about is what happens to my daughters, and I'm really happy for Cole, bro. I think that's amazing. And if he's ever up to it, I'm telling him I'm going to stop at his school, because my daughter goes to a school up the road from Cole, and we got married at the church across the road. But these are the more stories. This is where you get more my stories. But because good AOG boy, but you know the wife is Catholic, so I had to become Catholic to marry my wife. But see what we give up, don't you? See, we give all these. The best choice I've ever, best decision ever, man, was marrying this woman. She's amazing and very patient, having me as a husband. But I just wanted to say thank you, because this is really important, and I'm really blessed to be on the show. And this is, you know, this hour it's gone flowing by, but it's good to be amongst brothers who I know. Hey, well, I don't know you that well, but you know, I feel like we're connected in that way. So thank you very much for having me, and thanks for doing the podcast, because if you don't start talking, if we don't start talking about this, then it keeps getting hidden. And if we don't expose and shed light on these things, then how are we going to support each other when we're feeling like life's getting a bit tough and a bit too much and a little bit overwhelming, and we need someone who's just going to help us find that space to vent, to let it out, and just to kind of exercise some of the I don't know, the desire to release some of the stress. So thank you very much, and I'm happy to catch up sometime. I owe you all. Happy to take you for a feed, because I just eat. That's my. I don't go to Snap Fitness like the four of you. Some good cafes that
I'm banned.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't realize they had 3 showers.
Not enough weights there.
Otherwise, if you're at Jets, I've got a Jets in Otahu. So if you're, it's like the one down, because there's Snap, and then there's like Jets, and then there's Les Mills.
They're going to combine them all together when you're the mayor, eh? Make it more one.
Yeah. We'll do our rowing. Come row the machine. So, thank you very much. I've been really blessed to be on this, and I hope the podcast continues to flourish, because this is important stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's it for tonight. I think with the amount of viewers that we've had tonight, it's a blessing to hear you speak some truth and listen, you know, to all your gems tonight. So thank you again. This is probably the 20th time I've said thank you. So yeah, over to Walter. But yeah, this is For the Boys podcast. I didn't even know how to end the show. I was just gonna sit there and.
So yeah,
this is For the Boys podcast.
I just want to keep going. Yeah, just want to keep talking.
Okay, another hour, is it? Nah. For the Boys podcast. So I'm Teza, and you have your man Faánana, Efeso, Collins, and then we have the brothers. Thank you guys for tonight.
Peace.
Chop